Neil.
Thank you, miss.
You're welcome. You sure you want to sit there?
I thought he was coming on. I'm not going to sit here if he's not coming on
He might come in,
virtually.
he said. His last email was he could probably come in because he wasn't.
Oh, oh, jeez.
Yeah, we will relegate him to, I
Yeah.
don't know, right there.
Between.
And all of a sudden, they move to the back. Funny how that works.
So can exposure to him like cause someone to then react, or I thought it was more than just like, it's not like a chickenpox party with your kids. It's,
I don't think so.
yeah, I think it's not really infectious.
I don't know what it is, so.
You don't know what
Yeah.
is.
What is it we're talking about?
What's his contagious of? I'm sure that's a word.
What's the risk level?
Well, we'll find out next week.
You won't find out with me, I've been inoculated, so.
I am
Maybe
about
not.
as vaccinated as you possibly can.
Me too. I heard the new COVID shots are gonna be like $100,
You're gonna be what?
$100.
No, they're free. Well, I had one.
Oh, you did?
Oh, you're
There
special.
you go. Where'd you
They
get
didn't charge me
yours?
for it, so,
Where'd you get yours?
CVS.
Yeah.
It was just COVID and,
Walk down, didn't they?
Looking for somebody in a blue vehicle with Transport Central on the side. Oh, wow.
There shouldn't be any out of pocket for that.
I just,
you get to get
The
free
news.
tests now, too.
I was gonna say the tests are
tests are
running
back.
free again, yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Tests
is
are
good,
free
because I've
too?
had to take a bunch this summer, and they're like $15 a pop or whatever. It starts to add up. Especially when they tell you to test like 3 times, and you're like,
Just to be-
come on.
Yeah, I tested one day. I was running a little bit of a fever, and I tested twice. Once in the
free
beginning of the
tests
name.
again, though,
Yeah, they've just started doing free tests
Started
again.
today. They ship next week.
right? But you can't go to the hospital and get a free test, though, right?
No,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think so. Just the
Go to
at-homes.
Mid-State and get free test.
Mid-state?
I just
Well,
say,
you're a friend of Midstate, but
I just say, Marcy,
they charge me double.
Marcy, I need
That's your
a
friend.
test. And she'll go and pick them up from PSU.
Yeah, because you get them free, right, through PSU?
Yeah.
So we'll just go all
I'll
up
go to
there.
PSU.
Stay in
Marcy
line.
goes and picks them up for me, though, because she loves picking them up for some reason.
I bet.
Where's the public?
Not here yet.
Wow.
Dan Marion's on.
Is that public?
Hello, Dan.
All right.
And we're glad to have you, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you for attending.
See your 3 grants are on there, Alex?
Yep. Thank you. It's the same one you've been working with.
You guys build a lot today, huh? A lot of details?
You just gotta start seeing some of that income.
Or-
I should let you know, I'm here for Scott's manager's report. It's awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Oh.
Thanks, Dan.
That's what we're all here for, I think. Let's call it to order. Scott, you can,
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the September 11th regular meeting minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody. Announcements. The Select Board will meet on the following dates at 5 p.m. Tuesday, October 10th, Monday, October 23rd. Citizens wishing to be listed on the Select Board's agenda should notify the Town Hall before noon the Thursday before the scheduled meeting. All meetings will be held upstairs in Town Hall and will be held by Zoom. Zoom information can be found on the town's website at plymouth-nh.org. All town offices will be closed on Monday, October 9th, which also note, I listed that meeting date, and the October 10th meeting is a Tuesday, not a Monday, so slightly out of the normal. But offices will be closed Monday, October 9th in observance of Indigenous Peoples Day. All right. Let's jump to the town manager's report.
Sure, thank you. To start off, the Personnel Policy Ethics section, Section 38, we will have a revised document for you tonight to review based on the edits that were suggested back on our September 11th meeting. Delinquent tax update. As a follow-up to our discussion on September 11th, I've spoken with Linda Buffington with regards to the letters being sent out. Linda currently has delinquent tax written agreements in place with 4 property owners. And the 6 properties that I mentioned on September 11th were sent certified letters requiring them to come in and enter into a delinquent tax written agreement within 30 days prior to going to tax deed. I will provide you an update on Tuesday, October 10th. I was able to meet with the auditor, Jim Roberge, and spend some time with him. In my conversations with Jim, he was very complimentary of the work that Ann, Colleen, and Carol provide on the financials. I was happy to hear that he tests about 90% of our transactions that come through on the manifest, as well as other transactions provided to him by Carol. We have asked Jim to come to a select board meeting to present an overview of the audit when complete and to review the MDA. So I think it's the first time that the auditor will attend a selectmen's meeting and provide an overview, because I think it's important from a transparency perspective that you all hear it, but the public hears what a good job that is done by Ann, Carol, and Colleen. And just as a further note, Ann is currently attending a 8-week session at NHMA on internal controls, segregation of duties, fraud, and risk analysis, which is a great class that she attends every Wednesday down at NHMA to bring us up to date on the most current policies and procedures that are out there from a financial liability assessment perspective. So kudos to Ann for attending. I know she pushed back a little bit on it, but she's attending and doing very well. And I think it's a great benefit to the town. And I think Ann can say from just being at the first 2 weeks that she's taken away a lot of good information and brought it back so far.
Is it an after-hour class or during the day?
It's during the day.
You're in Concord more than I am.
I'm not telling you. No, I get down there, the class starts at 8:30 and ends usually around 3:30.
Wow,
Long day.
full day.
With the traffic going both ways.
So based on that, we probably will have some additional updates on our financial management policies, as well as updating our investment policy, which was last done in 2019. So we'll be bringing that to the board to take a look at that, update it, and implement it. Plymouth Fire Rescue, again, save the date for their open house on September 30th, 2023. Budget process update. The budget process is well underway. Department heads will have their budgets to myself and Ann by this Friday, September 29th. Department heads have been updating and analyzing their budgets and providing input for the capital improvement program. Department heads will meet with myself and Ann from October 2nd through October 13th. It is our plan to send the budget to the Advisory Budget Committee on October 18th, and then meet with the Advisory Budget Committee on or around October 25th. The Advisory Budget Committee will then meet with department heads from October 26th through November 15th. Pirate Party update, I'll let Alex and Nate speak to that when we get to it on the agenda. Plymouth Recreation update. Lisa reports this year's 121st Keniston Freeman Summer Concert was undoubtedly one to remember. Most notably, there wasn't a single cancellation due to rain in one of the most challenging summers yet. Every Wednesday, the skies opened up and cleared up for our concerts. All 8 were well attended. We would like to thank the town of Plymouth for their support. We would also like to thank the Parks crew for preparing the Common each week, and a special thanks goes out to the Plymouth Police Department and Firemen's Association for each providing concessions on 2 separate concert nights. The public looks forward to those nights when they come out and visit with everyone and serve food. Woodsville Guarantee Savings Bank also generously donated funds that allowed the rec department to serve hot dogs on a couple concert nights. Downtown businesses also offered discounted coupons to concert goers. Next year, we may be able to book a couple higher-priced bands to draw even larger crowds. Food trucks and some nonprofit groups to partner with food choices during these concerts. A few partnerships for the 121-year-old event with over 1,000 attendees is definitely an event this town can celebrate. And I can say I attended each one, and the Common was always full with people participating in the concert, in the coupons that were donated by the local businesses, downtown businesses, as well as the food that was served by Plymouth Police Department and the Firemen's Association. I just think it's a great gathering of local folks as well as surrounding community folks that come to Plymouth, and really look forward to that Wednesday night concert series. Plymouth State University update. I met with Jessica Dutal on Monday, September 18th. We discussed a number of issues, including the Pirate Party, the Plymouth State University Student Government Association, who I'll be meeting with on October 2nd, in the Plymouth State University Town Hall, which will take place this Wednesday, September 27th. The Cluster Project, I will be meeting with John Christ on this Wednesday to kick off the project, and a kickoff meeting will be held in October with all the participants that we had identified previously to participate in the program. And the Town Hall, again, Wednesday, September 27th, from 5 to 7 at the Hartman Union Building. Flu vaccination clinic, the town will be holding a flu vaccination clinic at Town Hall for employees, families, elected officials, or volunteer committee members. The clinic is sponsored by Spear Memorial Hospital. The date is October 17th from 1 to 3. And last but not least is the downtown drainage project update. Russell Street drainage has been completed as of last Friday. The water project is now working up from Warren to Pleasant Street on Russell. The downtown drainage project kicked off today, working from Warren Street up towards Highland Street, coming north from South Main Street up. So that will work over the next few weeks of getting the drainage in. The big question, the big issue that we're facing right now is obviously soils. And we've met a few times with New Hampshire DES in collaboration with Plymouth Village Water and Sewer, Granisi Construction, Wright Pierce engineers from Plymouth Village Water and Sewer, and HEB engineers representing the town. And the fact of the matter is nobody's really sure what type of testing should be taking place. And so with that being said, we have an additional meeting tomorrow morning. And it looks like from a soils management perspective, we are going to have to hire a soil management expert. And that expert will pre-characterize the soils before being dug, and we'll have to identify a place to stockpile materials. And if there is anything identified as being a hazardous material, we will have to comply with soil stockpiling, which means there has to be poly under it, there has to be poly on top of it. I can tell you it could cost us thousands and thousands of dollars in order to do this. Right now, all we know is that from a soil management expert perspective,
Find a way to treat it, and then bring
we'd
it.
have to dispose of it, and that would cost money to have it hauled out to Ohio or Pennsylvania.
Does that,
2 piles. We'll have one that is just stockpiled, and then we'll probably have a pile that could include contaminants.
Now, how have they identified that that area needs this additional testing?
From previous engineering surveys.
Okay.
So it's still a question on who's responsible for that. Is the dry cleaners responsible for that, or is the town of Plymouth? DOT has made it very clear they're not responsible for it because it's not their project. And DES is not responsible for it, again, because it's not their project. But through all of the evaluations, when this contract was first drafted back in 2020, 2021, is that DES reviewed everything, and there was no recommendation made by DES at that time to do soil testing. So it's happening now, but I'll know more after tomorrow's meeting. Other than that, things are going along well. They are on schedule. They're actually a little ahead of schedule. That's where we are today. And that concludes my report, other than Kelsey Bowden from the Recreation Department wanted me to let everyone know that the Veterans Day ceremony will take place on Saturday, November 11th at 10:30 in front of the town hall. And we will be putting out flyers and including it in the newsletter, the weekly newsletter, to let people know what's going on. And that
Purpose to enforce New Hampshire's hands-free electronic device law. So that's a total
It-
of, I don't know. Do we accept them individually? Or do we do them all?
They're all on one grant.
Oh, they're all on
And
one.
if the board chooses to accept this grant, I ask that you allow Scott Whedon being the signer on them, because there's quite a few pages that need to be signed.
Gotcha.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we accept the grant for 850 plus 850 plus 850, whatever that equals, and
Times
allow.
4.
Oh, is it? Oh, each two. Okay, times 4, and allow Scott to be the signer to execute.
It's 850 times.
Is it 3?
There's
The
3
third
of
one
them.
is 850, it says, as written, it says 850 each
Each.
for 2 mobilizations. Is that 850 for 2 mobilizations?
Or 850 for 2.
Here, I have it. You want to see what it says? Just, it's kind of light, but which one were you looking at, Zach?
I'm looking at the agenda.
Sober.
Right, but which,
The second one?
Sober.
The second
yeah,
one
sober.
says each,
okay.
so it implies possibly 2.
And the paper lightly does say 850 each. So I'm guessing it's 3,400 total.
It looks like 3 of them to me.
No.
Why did they say total on 2 of them and each on the middle one?
I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, no, join the click should be 850. Drive sober or get pulled over is 850. And then drive, you text, you pay is 850.
So that means we're only doing one of the 2 dates? Because the sheet
Well,
says,
drive,
for drive sober. Because on the sheet it says 850 and then for, on the first mobilization, and then on the second bullet it says 850 for the second mobilization.
Yeah, that seems like it's 850 times 2 for that
oh,
second.
it said, it does say, it's very light on here, but it does say each. So I would assume it is probably 2.
Okay,
I understand there was 4, total of 4.
total,
So
4,
34
okay.
3,400.
So that would make
So-
sense.
I'll amend it to be $3,400 and allow Scott to be the signer.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I should have asked. There's no match or anything on that. We've done these in the past. It's just
No,
we.
we've been doing it for
yeah.
a long time.
I thought I remembered that was the case. All right. A little bit of old business. Let's look at the Code of Ethics policy. I assume this is just the updates we talked about last time?
That is correct.
anything
Changing
else?
it from Board of Selectmen to Select Board.
In that regard,
So the only other change that you'll see is the very last page. For some reason, section 5 and section 6 were in Roman numerals. I'm not sure how that happened, but we did change them to the number 5 and number 6. So
You didn't want to change 1 through 4?
Wow. So we made that change as well.
I'll make a motion that we accept the revised Code of Ethics policy as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, well, let's talk about plans for Pirate Party.
Good evening. So we've done a little bit of legwork this year. We've worked with Town Manager Whedon, we've worked with the Town Attorney, but we've also worked with the Attorney General's office this year. And we've compiled a couple of letters that have gone out to social media sites that have promoted in the years past this Pirate Party. That's an unsanctioned event. All these kids, come together, they take over the town streets, cause havoc, public urination problems. Obviously, it's not anything that's in favor that is anything good for us. So we're doing our best to, it's going to be very hard to stop it, but try to kind of redevelop it, how we're going to do it. And we've worked with the university now to see how we can do that. And so the university is willing to put on some events going on campus to try to redirect these students to a campus event and not an unsanctioned event that takes over a town street. So we still are continuing to work on this, but the biggest thing was working with the Attorney General's office and trying to get the social media sites to stop promoting this. They're not allowed to promote this. It's not anything that we want. It's an illegal event. You can't shut down streets. You can't be doing the illegal activities that happen during these events. So we're doing our best to refocus this to something that happens on campus that's a good event, that is a safe event. So that's what we're doing right now.
What are the activities that are going to be happening on campus?
So it looks like they're going, I don't have all the, we have a meeting Thursday to kind of like sum up what is happening, but it's supposed to be, they're supposed to get a, music, they're supposed to have a cookout, different events for the kids to do, more of a safe event than it would be for them taking over street and getting in people's, yards and urinating, and things like that.
Wasn't that done last year, though? Or that the
It was
university-
not promoted in that manner. So in the years past, they've had small events, but
Yeah.
not large-scale events.
And the argument was they just come on campus, get some food, and then go.
Exactly, yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to work with our local law enforcement partners, New Hampshire State Police, to make sure that these events are not happening off campus and kind of redirect them to a campus event.
What they're gonna do is, and like Alex alluded to, we met with them a couple weeks ago now, and we have our follow-up meeting this Thursday just to confirm what's taking place. But I will say, President Burks has really stepped up and said, we're gonna do something on Mary Lyons' front lawn. We're gonna bring in a DJ, we're going to provide food, we'll provide restaurant, porta potties, et cetera, to try to redirect them onto campus on Mary Lyons' front lawn where the Spring Fling concert takes place. So that was President Burks' suggestion
Yes.
when we met with him on trying to take some responsibility and move this back onto campus and not on Russell Street.
Have we gotten any response from the letter that we sent to the social media folks?
I have not heard anything. Have you?
We haven't gotten any response, but on the 3 social media sites that it was sent to, they have not advertised anything at this
Yeah,
point.
we have not.
haven't seen anything.
We haven't seen anything on the ones that have been sent.
Attorney Radigan's office, one of the paralegals is monitoring that to see if it is advertised, and if it is, we'll send additional correspondence or take further action.
So another thing we do is we're going to meet with all the landlords. They're very, very, very helpful for these types of things and trying to get that message out and assisting us in moving the students that especially live off campus in their housing too. So we will be meeting with them, and they're extremely helpful for this.
What do we have in terms of support coming to
So
assist?
right now, so we're gonna, we've hired some transport vans in case something does try to happen off campus. Obviously, people will be held accountable for that. And we'll be reaching out to UNH to see if they can provide us support as well,
And you have state police
and state
on
police.
standby.
So we're working with state police to see what resources they can provide us as well.
Are we currently operating under the assumption that the tactics we're using is actually going to stifle this, or are we
So you know,
preparing for what we had last year and then
So you have to
hoping
prepare for
we've got a lot of people standing around?
exactly, absolutely. So everything might look great on paper, but you never know what's going to happen. So we have to prepare for an event that's going to happen off campus,
Mhm.
hoping that we can redirect them on campus.
You know, I think one of the things that we're afraid of is that, you know, the vans are gonna be a deterrence. They're gonna see these vans, we're gonna be out on Russell Street, and we're gonna be redirecting people. You know, one of the things that we have to look out for is, what we don't want is 3 pirate parties.
Right.
3,
Right,
1,000-person parties in 3 different locations.
right.
So we
It'll
really
be even
need
harder to contain and constrain.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of people, as many as we can, to direct them to the right location, without them kind of separating and then starting things that we can't stop. Because if they do that, we just won't be able to keep up with it.
And the big thing is the university trying to get this message out to the students, redirecting them to their event and not the off-campus unsanctioned events. So I know they are working together at campus to provide that detailed information to go out to the students.
Yeah, and I think how they do it's gonna be important. You know, I think we did talk about it in the meeting. If they put up big fences and they're checking IDs and searching everybody, kids aren't gonna go to the campus. So this has to be more of a concert, you know, a little more different than Spring Fling, where they have a chain link fence around the entire, you know, Mary Lyons lawn. I'm not sure that's gonna work. I just think part of the pirate party lingo, or whatever you wanna call it, is that they wanna rebel a little bit. They wanna take over the street. So we really need to refocus that, and I guess it depends how the university can put this out there and get kids to go there and not fear the repercussions from the university if they are doing things that are illegal. So,
I know that in the past, well, I know there's a lot more than just university students in the party, but
Exactly, yep.
in the past, there used to be that the administration used to come down on people that were identified, and is
Yeah,
that
so
going to
we've,
happen too?
yeah,
or-
absolutely. So
Okay.
we have met with student conduct as well,
Okay,
and they're on board as well, yes. Mhm.
all right.
No, I think we've taken the steps that we possibly can take to try to take care of this situation and move it back on campus, and the university has been very accommodating and through those conversations. So I think from a preparation perspective is that we've dotted the i's, we've crossed the t's. Have we seen everything that could happen? Probably not, but based on prior events and working with the AG's office and working with the university, I think we've covered our bases moving into this week. The other thing is, when I meet with the government student body on October 2nd, that's what this conversation is going to be about, is the pirate party and making sure they understand the consequences of being off campus. So, we're trying.
It sounds like you all have done a lot of legwork on this, and it's appreciated.
We have, yeah, absolutely. And we're continuing doing it. We're, like I said, we're meeting with the university again this week, so we'll just continue.
Excellent.
There was also a suggestion to bring a lot of the old geezers in town to like dress up and become part of the pirate parties and kind of like kill the whole atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's next year's plan. If it doesn't go this year, then we ramp it up and we do our best to make it uncool.
All right, I'm game.
So most of our concern is non-student folks.
Yep.
So I'm assuming a lot of the kids are coming up off of 93 to get into, is there any checkpoint, or is that a
So there's not
possibility?
checkpoints, but I mean, obviously, every law is still enforced when we're able to enforce them. So
Right.
checkpoints, you have to, obviously, there's a lot to checkpoints, and
Right.
mostly the checkpoints are for DWI checkpoints.
Right.
And you have to, there's a lot of legwork for that in itself. And kids coming in obviously aren't gonna be impaired, it's going
It's
out,
leaving,
so,
yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of a ride up.
Just put
Yeah.
the big video camera saying, we're recording your license plate. Just saying.
Right.
And the good thing is we are going to use a lot more video recording this year to be able to identify, even if we can identify that they go to a different school, make notification to those schools as well. But everybody needs to know is that we are going to enforce laws. Last year, I think we made 25 so arrests. I mean, we're still going to make arrests this year, absolutely. So if you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, you're apt to get arrested, so. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Good. Well, with that, if you're doing something illegal, you're going to be arrested. I think that sounds like the headline.
Hey, right.
Yes.
We'll be back on October 10th to give a report.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Are you planning to attend?
Yes,
You going to call me
sure.
so I know where? 'Cause
You'll find
oh,
it.
hey, yeah, I know. I just have to listen, I suppose, out my window. Do we have any concern about the construction equipment in the area?
Oh, we've talked to the.
They're gonna have it off,
construction
they're
committee,
gonna have it.
We're gonna move it?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the weekends now, even though construction is taking place on Russell Street, all the equipment is being kept down on Warren Street, away from Russell Street, away from,
Away from where this is most likely to occur.
And I have the contact info for the project manager, and we're in contact all the time, so
Okay.
we'll keep them updated.
A little challenging to drive an excavator up the road in the middle of the whole event,
Exactly.
but, you know,
Or it could be useful.
or it could be interesting.
One question on the.
Oh, I'm
Dawn?
sorry. Yes, we did have one question from the
think
audience
so.
before you gentlemen depart. Is there a question from the
Dan.
Zoom? Dan?
Nothing for me. I chatted to Dan Salzer that we were having audio and visual
okay.
problems. It seems to be rectified.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
thanks, Alex and Nathan.
Well, with the mention of Dan Salzer, is he joining us at the table?
Yeah, I think he's on his way out.
How's it going, everyone?
Good. How are you, Dan?
Doing okay. So, as you all know, we've had consistent issues with our current website that I maintain myself, with it constantly crashing, whether it's our host provider for our domain, applications crashing and not updating anymore, things of that nature. It's been a big hassle. It's taken up a lot of my time and resources away from the station itself just to keep the web page functional and up to date for our public, which has been utilized, I think, more than ever before, especially with the newsletter and us being transparent as departments. So over the last 6 months, Scott and I have talked with a couple of companies, Civics Plus and Revise, about their specialties in municipalities with websites, and we opted to go with Revise, one, because of a drastic price difference. I think 1 year's maintenance on Civics Plus was 5 years of coverage for Revise, so it was kind of a no-brainer. What's great about this one, it fits in line with what we have for a budget line right now, so that's covered. We have a payment plan in place, so the remaining balance on this design will come out of next year's budget, and then whatever's in there, that $2,500, can sustain the current website. We can have a rebrand, a redo of a website every 4 years, 4 to 5 years, and we can build off of this if we see the need to have them design a complete website from scratch that is unique to us. This is just template, one of the 5 options that we had just to get us up and running, and I think it is drastically different.
So what's the price point on this?
So this one is $34 with the initial setup fee and the $300 for the 300 pages, migration, and documents. But the rest I've had to do on my own behind the scenes and continue to do to get it ready for launch.
Gotcha.
Oh, 34,
3,400.
okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, not 34, that's essentially what the other one is.
When we were looking at both of the vendors, which are the top leading vendors in the municipal sector, whether it's town, city, county, government, is that I was on the municipal manager's website asking for information with regards to both of these companies. And there was a lot of pluses to go and revise on the ease of using their system, their training, and their capabilities. And there was many comments in the detriment about Civics Plus not responding when things had gone wrong. So I had probably 82 responses on the municipal manager's website, and most of them would recommend going with Revise, so that's why we moved in that direction.
There are other options we can also add to our plan over time, depending on budget. So we can push out alert notifications to emails if people sign up to our website. So it's another level of communicating with our townspeople. We can do RFQ forms on our website, other sign-up forms. That's all a yearly subscription cost to it, but that can all be built in to our site. So we can kind of bring everything that's in different pockets from different departments all into one.
And the site is ADA compliant.
That is my next, yeah, fully ADA compliant.
Excuse me.
So the most important question, does it load when I hit?
Yes, yes.
Sold.
Dan has spent a considerable amount of time with me going back and say, well, what about this, Dan? What about this? Can you check on this? Can you ask him these questions? And kudos to Dan that he really has been very responsive to all the emails that I've sent to him and questions that I've asked. And the company has been very responsive to us as we move into this launch.
Yes, I just finished my last training. I had 2 trainings of 90 minutes over the last 2 Mondays. So now we're in position with approval. Can tell them we're good to go, and it's a 48-hour window for them to launch it with domain transfers and everything of that nature.
Now, are we also changing domains when we do this?
Yes, that is in place to be the .gov. That was approved by you guys last meeting, I believe. So we've already been talking with CCS. That are all on board. They've been communicating with Revise, so they are ready to go.
And then we're going to do a redirect on the old domain?
It's still going to redirect because I think it's still purchased, so it's all going to redirect right now. And we'll just let it run out.
Sold.
Yeah, ease of use. This is just the home screen. These I'm working right now for the quick links. It's slow on my computer. There'll be arrows. They're supposed to be there so we can have multiple, how we have the stacked right now. So we can have multiple quick links there. The news will all be here. The only downside is it's not categorized. It's all just all in one. So I'll find different ways to work with that. The events I've got to put in manually. I can input or embed the Google calendars that each department has into their own pages if we like, but the actual calendar in the server.
This is way better than the embedded Google Calendar.
Yes, I agree. Because, for instance, tonight, all the information will pop up. Same thing, links to the agenda, the Zoom link right there. If there's posters, they'll show up here as well for different events. So rec department, anything happening around town. I want to make this a central hub. And then we can close out of that. And then all the different pages as well. I mean, looking, fire and rescue. These sliders can all change and be independent for each page, which I will be working on gathering more content for videos or pictures that show off each department itself. So this is just a placeholder.
Which is something that we had some feedback on with the newsletter, is that we were just showing the picture of the downtown area. And Tenny Mountain and other areas said, well, can you put something
what
up
about
for
us?
too?
Yeah.
So you'll notice that the picture changes on the newsletter with relevancy to the different parts of town, the different business areas in town, to make sure everybody is represented fairly.
That's good.
And again, it's the availability of me to grab the content because of tying up with the other website. I've been not able to get on the streets and get quality pictures from around the region. So everything's here. Everyone can have their own sidebar that we can dedicate pages and files to. It's very similar setup. They're free form pages, but I can edit this on a moment's notice, as I have been, and update anything and everything.
Do you have the ability to easily delegate editing access?
Yes, yep, I can add different admins and have their different responsibilities. Yep. So different,
And could be in charge of the finance page,
Correct.
for example.
yep.
That's curious how much, I know you're dedicating a lot of time now as we transition. How much time will you, when you're managing the site?
Once everything is 100%
Right.
ready to go,
Yes.
it's only if there's a news article that I've got to post or something's got to change on a page. Rest of it's hands off. It's only updating information.
Is Vital Records still gonna have like their own thing, or they're intrigued to move everything over to this?
I'm sorry, what was that?
The town
Vital
clerk.
Yeah. excuse me,
They
sorry.
have their own pages. We can make pages for them, but I've brought it up before when I came on board last year. Same with the police
know that-
department. They've got their own.
Josie seemed very opposed to using the previous website, but I wonder if with a change in leadership over there, if we could bring him in the fold. Be nice to have one site, you know?
Agreed.
Seems strange to send people to something else.
Agreed.
We have a
And it's,
department head meeting this Wednesday to kind of do a budget recap of where we are, but this also is on our agenda to be able to talk once the board makes a decision tonight to move
Hey,
forward.
Dan, just to,
Yep.
before you scroll past the page, we should be careful of things like this table that you have with the white on red. While most of this site is going to pass ADA, that
That
white
won't.
on red
Yep.
is, that contrast isn't
If you're
going to pass.
colorblind, then you're.
Not only
but what's also
colorblind, but
great
it's not
is
enough
you
color.
have
It wouldn't pass.
what's built in is you have different ADA options here. So it automatically change. And again, I'll set this up.
I was going to say, it
It doesn't change that, but again, that was just a quick put in, but it will change depending on what ADA compliance you need.
Okay.
It's great.
Any questions?
So when does this new site go online?
If you guys give approval, 48 hours from when, well, tomorrow morning. So 48 hours from tomorrow morning.
Later this week.
I'll make a motion that we approve the new website.
I'll second that.
It seems like a
Jesus, Mary Ann, they
no-brainer.
gotta kick it in.
Well, seems like a no-brainer. Any discussion about it? If new websites go live, there's always little tiny issues. If we see anything, email you directly.
Yep. Email me directly,
Right.
call, text, whatever, smoke signal.
Perfect.
Yep.
Down the hill.
Yeah, walk down the hill.
Any other questions, comments?
No?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Really excited.
And thanks for the visuals.
You're welcome.
Visuals are nice.
We'd like to give something to our adoring public.
I know, now I gotta switch it back.
That's good. We have a waiver to build on a Class 6 road.
This is the thing that we previously talked about too, right?
Correct. You previously approved this, but at the time, he did not have the form filled out or signed, which now we do have that. So what we're asking is the board do the formal approval process by signing the documents so they can move forward with building their small cabin of which they discussed when they were here.
If you can approve it, I need to have the original for the registry, and this is only a copy, and we never got the original.
I think Joseph might have the original.
No, he had it scanned, it's the same as we did. So
Okay.
if the board can approve it, and then we'll bring it back just in the signature folder, but we'll let him know that it has been approved. We're just waiting for the originals to be signed. We can
Okay.
bring that back at the next meeting. Doesn't stop him from building or working on the next step, but.
So I'll make a motion to approve the waiver for building on a Class 5 or private road. We will, with the provision that we will sign it later once we get the originals back.
Mary Ann seconds that.
For me.
Any discussion? Someone just described this as a cabin, and then the
And
the
down
entry
below.
here
Oh,
says
it's a
shed and tent
Platform in a platform that's gonna be eventually built into a cabin, but right now it's a platform. with
Okay,
a
so it's going
tent.
to start as a tent platform,
Yes,
and no one's going to occupy this shed.
that's correct.
When they go from tent platform to cabin, do they need to come back?
They don't need to come back, but they do need to fill out a new building permit.
how do we avoid this turning into a 2-bedroom house that we need to provide bus service to?
It's kind of happened in the past.
Well, that would be my fear of wanting to approve a waiver like this, because all of a sudden we've got a road problem, we can't get to it, we can't get emergency vehicles there, we can't get school buses. I mean,
That's why-
I don't think
but
I was
that's why
here
they
the first
signed
time
the
this was
waiver.
discussed.
Is knowing that that's not going to be
So
provided.
they're waiving all municipal responsibility.
Correct, they're waiving municipal liability.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's for a future board to decide.
So basically, we've by signing this waiver or approving this waiver, we're
you're
saying
on your
we're not doing anything for
That is
this.
correct. And he has signed it as well and witnessed.
Okay.
We had a second, right?
Yes.
You,
All those.
Said Mary Ann.
I said.
Yeah.
It was a little bit fuzzy, but yeah, I think you're the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposition. I'm not gonna sign this one because you told me not to.
that's not the original. It's still a copy, so, thank you.
Speaking of signatures, what do we have in the signature file?
We have nothing.
Nothing. Well, that's.
Oh, that's easy.
Scott's signing everything.
Wait a minute.
We've given her permission.
Where's that ethics policy?
I know,
I need to check
We,
that.
we ceded permission for him.
right.
We did. I'm happy not to sign almost everything we're not signing. So committee reports.
No updates.
No update on water and sewer. No update. Planning board. I attended planning board for Neil last Thursday. It was a very simple meeting. We took a walk through the neighborhood. Joseph took us on a tour, mostly to kind of see. There's been a lot of discussions about setbacks and lot sizes. So there's been some discussion of our current requirements around lot sizes are pretty large. And so I guess the planning board has been discussing, do they put some smaller requirements on lot sizes for building? And so we wandered through some neighborhoods that are kind of pre-zoning and or I guess much less limited zoning than what we have now, more open. So saw some neighborhoods that just my own personal take was that some of the most charming neighborhoods in town are on smaller lots. So some of the fears about creating working class housing that in turn turns into sort of not as nice a neighborhoods, it certainly didn't prove out in the neighborhoods we walked through. It was some of these smaller lots and smaller setbacks actually produced very charming areas in town. So more discussion on that from the board, but it was interesting. And boy, Joseph does his homework. He showed up with a very detailed annotated map and told us lots of information about each of these lots and square footage and setbacks. And it was actually a beautiful night for a walk. And he was a wonderful tour guide. So a very good planning board meeting. Unfortunately, no recording of that because we didn't have anybody walk with us with a video camera.
I have a GoPro. I could have loaned it to you.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Dan probably has something too. How come he wasn't
Yeah,
there?
There you go.
could have wandered with us.
Did he say something?
He's probably just muttering under his breath back
Wasn't
there.
invited.
Campus Community Council, Ted.
I think Scott's already
Wednesday, we've talked about it.
Stole the thunder there, but Wednesday, 5 p.m. PSU Hub. Supposed to go to 7, but I don't imagine that it would take quite that long.
I don't think it will take that long. They did invite me to provide comment after President Burke's, which I have some prepared comments to make based on the new LSSA agreement, as well as some of the things we're working in collaboration on. And they're helping us out with, and we're helping them out with to be able to create sustainability. So.
Getting this in my calendar real quick. Cancel.
I'll move on to the Plymouth
Oh,
School
thank you.
District for Zach. as you may remember, they met on our meeting day last time, and they weren't recording it, so I wasn't able to attend.
Which district is that?
That's the PES.
Yes, okay.
Because I was here.
If the high school met, I did not go.
It was the week prior. It
Okay,
would've
I
been
went to that
reported.
one and I reported on it already.
It would've
Yeah,
been
so they haven't
reported.
met again. Next week? It's probably next week. Or the week after? It's coming up.
No,
anyway.
it's the week after next.
Week after next.
No.
Conserv-
No, it's next week. You're right.
Oh, okay.
Because Sunday's the first.
Right. And it's always the first
The first.
Tuesday. Conservation Commission.
They met this past month on 9/19. That was last week. So they had a student come from PSU who is representing the Geo Club, and he wants to participate in working on trail maintenance. It was ideal that he came. There was a conversation about a bridge that needs to be replaced on the Newton Trail and some other brush work, so that was good. We had a guest, Carolyn Erickson, who was in the audience. They had a budget report, but they are waiting to see a little bit more about what they need for an NRI before determining what their ask is going to be for this year's budget. And apparently Ann had suggested to sticking to what they asked for last time. Getting that right? All right, good. So there was a lot of discussion about, how to conduct the NRI. Basically, before we can even start anything, we really need to have a determination as what is it that we want? What is it that we want the NRI to do for us? I guess the current one was done like 12 years ago, and it's good. They talked about having someone come in and just update it, update the language, but, there was minimal value in seeing just updating the language without actually doing a needs assessment. So they talked about forming a committee and pulling in our planning guy and somebody else. I'm trying to remember who. Maybe it's on my other page.
NRI is, do you know
Natural-
what that is, Mary Ann?
Natural resources inventory.
I saw you looking at it, waiting for more.
Waiting for him to go.
I've talked about it before. So yeah, they want to bring in the town planner, a member of the planning board, and a member of the community to basically, not necessarily help them determine what they could do, but kind of get the input from a number of entities within the town. Somebody also maybe a member from the, the community as a whole, before actually forming that proposal for the NRI. They did have a nice map that Ina printed from at the high school that showed land that was in conservation already. A lot of conversation about what areas they want to focus their attention on over the next few years. Specifically, what areas do they feel that need conservation attention, as opposed to looking for more areas that have already been traditional areas. So the Clay Brook area, that's not been a traditional area, and there's a lot of conversation about, often the best places for development are also ones that really should have some idea about conserving something too, specifically along the Baker River corridor there. So that was a number of the conversation was about that. Let's see, there was conversation about some soil dumpage out near the Rotary that was in wetlands. So that was brought to everybody's attention as 2 violations. Trying to think of anything else that's relevant. No, I think they did talk a little bit about communications and outreach. They did post 4 bios of the committee members with a called, hey, get the rest of you guys in kind of deal.
I read yours,
What's that? Oh, you did?
of course.
Oh, well, thanks. I used chatbot GPT
Ah,
because I was having
Right up on Facebook.
I was having a hard time getting started, so I was like,
It's a good
okay,
tool for that.
it gets me started.
cheating,
I'm using my resources wisely.
cheating.
So I guess that's about it.
Capital improvement, I still haven't heard anything from Sue.
Probably won't until second week in October,
Okay.
I'm guessing.
All right. Seems like time's getting short on that. LRPC.
I didn't attend the commissioners thing, which was like last Monday. And I did go to the executive committee meeting where Jeff Hayes was discussing his interpretation of, I guess, the housing inventory and the, there's going to be like a retribution thing if you don't, meet your housing requirements. But, I think people are realizing that that just can't happen. So, he reported back to, I'm not certain who actually was like in charge, either the executive councils or the governor's office or whatever, to let them know that it would be difficult to comply with something that just is unreasonable to comply with. That being said, we also met with Jeff. I'm talking about, he was at the GASSET hearing, which is intermodal transportation, and we had the GASSET hearing here, and it was related to LRPC, because members from LRPC were there, and the gist of what I said, which was basically focus should be more on transportation, which it was last year. In fact, the legislature gave an extra $2 million towards meeting match so that municipalities can afford projects a little easier than just having a large match load. And Joseph was there and did an excellent, brief, speech about, what he has seen, especially regarding the Armory, the road and sidewalk improvements that ultimately should be done, even though we missed it this time. And that was very well received. And we had a chance to meet the assistant commissioner was there, and also Cindy Warmington was our counselor, so she was there as well. Anyway, it was a very good meeting. I'm kind of off topic, but whatever.
Yeah, it's related. Parks and Rec.
I don't have any report, but I think Scott did when he went through his town manager report. So,
Yep. Parking.
Should I say still none, but, so, PSU, so we talked about economic development partnering. I think we also talked about parking as well. I wasn't sure if that was on your radar with these talks right now.
It is.
Okay.
It's about economic development, master plan, and parking.
Okay, so that's all gonna be taken care of within one group or separate?
One group.
Oh, interesting.
It'll be one cluster project that addresses all of
All
those
three.
issues.
Okay. And then just the repainting, I'm assuming once the, big dig is done next spring, everything will be repainted. I also want just the reminder about the 30 minutes as well.
Yep.
We're gonna,
Yep.
that's all I have.
Energy Commission.
Man, all right. So we had a meeting, and I attended. And then I wish it was more like Neil. I just take notes.
Detailed notes.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
good at it.
So there was a conversation, well, actually, I do really well when Grace is here to report on energy efficiency.
Keeps you honest.
Yep. But there was, I mean, I was also very interested in what that additional grant was going to, whether or not that would happen regarding the last 25% of the municipal load for renewable energy, and 75% is going to be at the airport, and this would have been, you know, at our recycling center or whatever, and that's not happening. So
Well, that's too bad.
yeah. And I'm trying to think of like what else we were talking about, which was terribly interesting, and I'll have to
Can't come
report
up
next.
with anything?
No,
Excellent.
not that one.
Can't think of anything to make up.
Grace did a great job.
I believe it.
Yep.
In Scott's report, you saw that Advisory Budget Committee will be discussing later in the month, Economic Development Committee.
Same update that Scott.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chamber of Commerce?
We haven't met since. Just a couple notes unrelated to Chamber, sort of. Homecoming weekend this weekend for PSU. They had reached out to the businesses, which is great. So there's some partnering going on there. PSU has also reached out to businesses as far as admissions. So some good partnering going on with the businesses there.
That's good.
Unrelated, but a place to put it.
I like it. Fits nicely there. Perlac.
I think I said that last time that we had the last day of the VRAP program where we go out and sample waters. I think that was the last meeting.
Yeah.
But so that's old news. But we've got a PERLAC meeting tomorrow evening. And you mentioned the concern about soil dumping in wetlands. There are several members on PERLAC that were very concerned about the soil testing on our excavations. And it seems like that's, you know, coming to at least the end. And
Or the beginning.
yeah,
Hopefully the
yeah,
end.
right. Oh crap. Where's Neil when you need him? Anyway, it was a very interesting meeting, and yeah, it'll be
Grace did a good
so
job.
tomorrow too.
And Police and Fire Building Assessment Committee is meeting tomorrow.
Can I make a ad hoc?
Yeah.
So we also had a very interesting meeting at the library. In fact, Dan videotaped it, and it was on YouTube like that afternoon. It was on transportation, coming up with a type of transportation solution that maybe fixed route, probably not. Might be, you know, on call, or you know, or a combination of different methodologies. And we had this gentleman from DOT, who pretty much is the manager of the DOT funds, of the federal DOT funds, and we as Transport Central get 5310 funds, which is for, you know, nonprofit, you know, volunteer drivers. And there's also 5311 funds, which are basically thrown at communities that purchase a bus, or they have like bus transportation. Oh, and Joseph was at that meeting too, and he asked like really great questions. I gotta admit that
I
Joseph
watched
is
the
a,
meeting
yeah.
Saturday.
Oh, yeah. So, you know, I mean, initially I was very encouraged that a bus is going to come to, you know, Plymouth. In fact, I was informed a couple of times that the Tri-County CAP women who are FTA approved to operate buses were going to like loan one or have a pilot with one of their buses and a driver. And that's not unlikely, but it may happen. But there's also room for utilizing a bus from another nonprofit that doesn't do the trips that they anticipated, and it's just sitting in Plymouth waiting for use. So I haven't kind of nailed that one down, but if that's the case, we might be that much closer to like starting a route, or at least doing a pilot that will get people kind of fired up. And then I'm also meeting with a software developer for different methodologies for transportation, like real-time, Uber type, driver has it's just most efficient use of transportation, microtransit. So anyway, that's tomorrow. So that's it for buses.
It was a good turnout at the meeting. There was a lot of good questions asked, I thought.
Yeah, it's not that I nailed it on the invitations, but, we had the chamber there and a lot of people that have expressed interest in the past. Mid-State was there. So we were kind of like,
University
yep,
was there.
yeah.
There was a gentleman sitting in the front that had I think a comfort dog or some type of dog with him.
That is he works for Transport Central.
He asked a lot of good questions, I thought.
No, he's excellent. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a driver coordinator. And, it's kind of maybe a misnomer that we have 3 staff, myself included. And one's a mobility manager, which basically controls in fact, we have a statewide mobility manager now and different regional mobility managers. In fact, the statewide mobility manager was there too, as was our regional. And she was sitting at the table in the front. But Tom works for Transport Central. He's been working since the inception. He used to be like the president of Transport Central, but he coordinates all the dispatch. It's not dispatching. He works very closely with, the people that call in and, knows which drivers to pair them up with and such. And he's been in transportation for years and just a great person, and his dog is exceptional. Actually, I was, it's not a dog. It's a trained service animal. Yeah, so he gets insulted when I call Victory a dog, so I call him a dog a lot.
But I thought it was a good meeting.
Yeah, yep, good starters. Thank you.
Any other board items? Any public comments from our folks on Zoom?
That's it for me. Thanks for all you guys do.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Saw Julie on there.
Yeah, Julie's there too. Quiet.
Nothing for me either. How guys?
Oh,
Thanks,
Hey,
Julie.
thanks. Okay. Well, seeing that we're done with public comments, I'll make a motion that we enter non-public in accordance to RSA 91-A:3, 2, C, reputation. Is anybody a second?
Nobody else wants to go.
I was waiting, I guess.
Mary Ann, your vote.
Aye.
Zach, aye. Bill,
Aye.
Ted.
Aye.
And that will put us in non-public.